So for me, it was very important for me to break generational curses when it came to my family. And I'm on child number 2 now. Baby is due here in a few weeks. And when I think about my childhood, I think that I had a beautiful, immaculate childhood, all that. But there were some things that were pretty traumatic that I don't want to repeat for my kids. Like, for example, my mom and her sister had a pretty turbulent relationship most of my life. And then us as kids promised, like, oh, we'll never be like my mom and aunt, and we'll always have a great relationship. And then my sisters and I have not had the best relationship, in adulthood. My cousins and I have had relationships to where there's been a lot of like hatred or jealousy or spite. And I just don't want that for my kids. And it's really like something that I'm like worried about, but I'm like, okay, how do you prevent something like that? How do you establish those boundaries now? Do I just keep my kids away from Missouri forever? Do I just ignore it? Is it something like, I'm not really sure how to navigate that process and dealing with, that with you coming from like a totally different background than me. It's kind of like, it's just different,
Yeah, I feel like me and you are different, so I don't know if we'll ever be on the same page when it comes to this topic, only because I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reality. If anybody out there knows me, it's not that I don't care about the person. It's that, like, I am so sensical that, like, I just do not care if you're in my life or not. Meaning, my cousin could feel a certain type of way, jealousy, X, Y, Z. All right, bye. I don't got to talk to you.
Yeah.
I just don't care. But I would love to have you in my life. And I think that, like, that's the tricky part where it's like, there's probably a lot of jealousy in my family and envy. I don't care enough to get into it. Whereas, like I said, like, I grew up with the same cousins that, in terms of a relationship, and then you grew up with a different set of cousins, but like your cousins.
And the closeness, proximity,
Yeah, but you care if like they're still in your life, or like maybe like if you haven't talked in 3 months, like it bothers you or it bothers them, right? Like you had cousins who try to reach out to you after an argument or vice versa. And it's like, I don't know how that would be with Alora per se, because the thing with Alora is I want her to have family, right? Like I want her to have family with her, but I also want to teach her that like,
she's good by herself.
Yeah, you're good by yourself. You don't have to lean into anybody.
Pause for a second. Let's talk about that. I feel like depending on where you were born in the world, okay, like especially in the United States, your level of detachment is different. Okay, so like
maybe because my mom don't care either.
No, like y'all are super East Coast people, and the East Coast they're like bye.
Yeah,
I'm like,
bye.
dang, like, y'all can be like blood brothers and sisters, and you're like deuces. Yeah. That's crazy. Where in Missouri we're taught more like family values, to where like you put up with so much crap just because somebody is in your family or in your proximity, to where you're like, oh, well, I have to put up with them. And I don't know why we were taught that. Yeah. It's very like toxic. It's very like people can continuously abuse you, and it's not fair. So then when you separate yourself, it's almost like you're the one that's ostracized, of like, wow, how dare her,
Absolutely.
like how dare she separate herself from us and our toxic, behaviors,